Have you ever wondered why some men seem to effortlessly draw women in, while others, no matter how attractive or successful, struggle to connect on a deeper, more intimate level? The answer isn't in looks, status, or charm. It lies in something far more powerful, far more primal: emotional impact. Every woman walks through life with invisible layers of armor, built from fear, judgment, rejection, and the weight of being misunderstood. When you approach a woman, you're not just meeting her in the moment, you're meeting her entire emotional history. And that's why the key to unlocking her desire doesn't lie in surface-level attraction. It lies in what you awaken inside her. Most men are taught to focus on what to do or say to impress a woman. But women are not searching for performance, they are searching for connection. True desire is not born in the eyes. It's born in the emotional center of the mind. If you want a woman to let her guard down, to feel something real, you have to learn how to speak not to her body, but to her emotions. Her body will never open to you if her mind doesn't trust you. That's the reality. And yet so many men try to shortcut that process, trying to spark intimacy without first creating emotional security. It doesn't work, not in any way that's lasting, not in any way that's real. The truth is, women are not complicated. They're just emotionally tuned in. They don't need magic tricks or seduction tactics. They need to feel something that wakes them up inside. They need to hear something that tells them, I see the real you, not just the version you show the world. That one emotional cue, that one line of genuine understanding, has the power to melt defenses that have been standing for years. It doesn't take manipulation. It takes presence. It takes emotional clarity. It takes intention. And when you become the kind of man who knows how to create that emotional experience, everything changes. She stops viewing you as just another guy and begins to feel drawn to you in ways she can't even explain. It's instinctive. It's subconscious. It's real. And when that shift happens, intimacy stops being a goal and becomes a natural extension of what she already feels. You don't have to chase. You don't have to convince. You simply become the man she already trusts. If you stay with this video, you're going to discover the one thing, the single phrase that opens her up faster than anything else. But even more importantly, you'll learn how to activate the deeper emotional triggers that create lasting desire, not just temporary attraction. This isn't about games. It's about truth. And once you understand it, you'll never see women the same way again. Because real connection isn't a technique, it's a transformation. And that transformation starts with how you make her feel in the first few seconds. So ask yourself, are you ready to truly understand the secret that most men never learn? Keep listening. There's something every woman is secretly waiting to hear, but most men never say it. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know it matters. It's not a pickup line. It's not flattery. It's not even a compliment about how she looks. It's a simple truth, spoken with emotional certainty, that tells her she's safe to be real, to be raw, to let go. What unlocks a woman's deepest desire isn't your confidence. It's your ability to make her feel accepted. When you look at her and, without hesitation, communicate one powerful message that she doesn't need to filter herself, that she's allowed to want, allowed to feel, allowed to be, it breaks through every wall she's built to protect herself. That one message changes everything. It doesn't demand her. It doesn't push her. It doesn't seduce her. It frees her. And when a woman feels emotionally free in your presence, her desire rises not out of obligation or pressure, but from something raw and pure. She starts to feel safe in a way that ignites her femininity, her sensuality, her truth. That's when her barriers begin to fall. Not because you knocked them down, but because she chose to drop them for you. That choice is powerful. It's rare. And once you experience it, you'll realize it was never about trying to get her. It was about becoming the man who knows how to hold her. Most men underestimate how heavy a woman's emotional armor really is. She walks through life protecting herself from being used, judged, or misunderstood. She's been told how to act, how to behave, and how to suppress what she really feels. So when a man looks at her and says with absolute conviction, "You don't have to hide anything with me," it's not just words, it's freedom. It tells her she's finally in the presence of someone who won't turn away when she's vulnerable, someone who won't punish her for wanting more, someone who isn't afraid of her truth. That's the emotional shift that awakens her, not lust, not attraction, but liberation. The moment she feels like she's not being observed, analyzed, or judged, but simply seen and allowed, her desire becomes personal. She stops thinking, she starts feeling. And when a woman starts feeling deeply, she opens up in ways that are more real, more intense, more intimate than anything surface-level seduction could ever produce. If you want to reach a woman on that level, you have to lead with emotional courage. You have to say what most men are too afraid to express, that her desire isn't something to fear, that she doesn't have to earn your respect by being guarded, that she can bring all of herself without shame. Tell her that, and you don't just touch her body, you touch her soul. And when you reach her soul, there's no need to chase. She comes closer on her own, because now she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time, safe, wanted, and real. When a woman feels safe, something remarkable happens. Her entire nervous system shifts. Her defenses soften, her breath deepens, and her mind quiets. In that space, desire doesn't feel dangerous anymore. It feels natural. That's the moment where real connection is born. But most men miss it, because they're focused on physical cues, not emotional signals. They chase the outcome instead of creating the environment. They try to impress, dominate, or entertain, instead of listening, holding space, and simply being. A woman cannot fully step into her sensuality until she feels her emotions are not only allowed, but embraced. It's not about being passive or overly gentle. It's about emotional authority, the ability to remain steady in the face of her vulnerability. That steadiness is what tells her, you can let go here. If you bring anxiety, performance, or pressure into the space, her body will close, her mind will retreat, her heart will shut down. But when you bring grounded presence, when your energy says you're safe to be all of who you are with me, that's when everything opens. Not just her body, but her soul. She'll lean in without even knowing why, because something deep inside her feels at peace for the first time in a long time. Every woman carries a silent question. Will you still want me if I show you all of me? That includes her passion, her fear, her need, her sensuality, her contradictions. She doesn't need a man who has all the answers. She needs a man who won't flinch when she reveals her truth. That kind of emotional security is rare, and it's unforgettable. It awakens a level of trust that no words can fake. And when a woman trusts you at that level, physical intimacy becomes a reflection of emotional surrender, not a reward or a test. So many men are afraid to lead with this kind of emotional clarity. They worry it makes them weak, soft, or less masculine. But real strength is the ability to be deeply present without needing to control. Real power is calm. It doesn't chase. It invites. It listens. It holds space. And in that space, a woman's desire naturally rises, not because you pushed her there, but because she finally feels free to meet you there. No pressure, no force, just alignment. This is what it means to truly understand a woman. Not to figure her out or decode her behavior, but to recognize that her sexual energy lives in her emotional safety. If you can be the one who gives her that safety, not through words alone, but through consistent presence, you become unforgettable. You stop being just another man, and you become the one she craves, the one she trusts, the one she chooses without hesitation. Because in a world full of noise, she found peace in you. And when a woman finds peace in a man, there's nothing she won't give him, freely, passionately, and fully. A woman's body follows her emotions. If she doesn't feel emotionally safe, her desire shuts down. Even if she finds you attractive, her body might react, but her soul won't engage. And without her soul, intimacy becomes hollow. That's why the man who creates emotional safety awakens something deeper than lust. He unlocks the part of her that most men never reach. Not because she's difficult, but because she's protective. Her sensuality is sacred, and she only opens it for the man who makes her feel seen, not just wanted. It's not about being perfect, it's about being emotionally honest. When you stop performing and start connecting, she senses the shift, and she responds with trust. Her attraction builds in layers. The first is curiosity, then comfort, then trust. Only after these come desire. If you rush past the emotional layers, you rob her of the experience of surrender. And surrender is not weakness, it's her deepest expression of femininity. She wants to give, but only to someone who's proven he won't take. She wants to open, but only to someone who knows how to hold what she reveals. If you try to reach her without going through her emotional layers, you won't reach her at all. You may touch her skin, but not her heart. And a woman whose heart remains untouched can never offer you the fullness of her body or her presence. This is where so many men fail, not out of malice, but out of misunderstanding. They chase results instead of resonance. They want closeness, but skip connection. They offer attention, but withhold emotional depth. A woman feels that. She knows when your presence is incomplete. She knows when your interest is self-serving. And when she feels used, even subtly, she disconnects. Not because she's cold, but because she's protecting her inner world from yet another man who doesn't understand her language. Her language is emotion. Her intimacy begins with feeling, not logic. She doesn't respond to strategy, she responds to sincerity. When you speak from your heart, you bypass every wall. When you let her know through your energy and words that she is free to express, to unfold, to be fully feminine in your presence, she blossoms. Not for you, but with you. That shared space becomes the foundation of real desire. And it's not just physical, it's spiritual, emotional, electric. It's the kind of connection that changes how she sees herself, because she feels more alive in your presence. To be that man, you must lead with grounded energy. You must own your emotions, speak with clarity, and stay calm when she tests your strength. Not with anger, but with vulnerability. If you meet her with presence instead of pressure, she'll begin to trust you. And trust is the doorway to everything you truly want with her, not just in the bedroom, but in her soul. That's the level most never reach. But if you can hold her heart first, her body will follow willingly, naturally, and completely. Every woman is carrying something you can't see. Unspoken thoughts, emotional bruises, memories she doesn't share. She's been touched, but not cherished, looked at, but not understood, desired, but never deeply respected. That leaves a mark. So when you come close, you're not just facing her in the present. You're standing in front of everything she's ever endured. That's why what you say, how you say it, and who you are beneath the surface matters more than anything you try to do. She's not waiting for a perfect man, she's waiting for a real one. A man whose words are backed by energy, whose presence calms her nervous system, whose silence speaks louder than performance ever could. Most men approach intimacy as a transaction. Say the right thing, act the right way, and receive a result. But she's not a reward, she's a mirror. She reflects back the depth of connection you bring. If your intention is rooted in honesty, she feels it. If your presence is laced with patience, she feels that too. But the moment she senses you're trying to get something instead of give something, her walls go up. Not out of spite, but self-protection. Because she's been there before. She's heard the words with no meaning behind them. She's felt hands that reached for her body but not her spirit. And she won't go through that again, not willingly. What awakens her is something far simpler and yet far more powerful. A moment of emotional safety. A pause where she doesn't feel judged, measured, or rushed. A gaze that holds her without hunger. A sentence that tells her, you don't have to be anything but yourself right now. When she hears that, when she feels that truth inside your energy, her heart starts to open. And when her heart opens, so does everything else. That's when you stop being just another man and become the space where she can finally breathe. She's not testing your patience, she's measuring your emotional strength. Can you stay grounded when she pulls away? Can you remain soft without losing your power? Can you let her be messy, uncertain, emotional, without trying to fix her or silence her? Because if you can, she will begin to trust you. And when a woman trusts, she leans in. She softens. She brings her feminine energy forward, not as a response to seduction, but as a response to safety. That's the level where true intimacy lives. Not in performance, not in strategy, but in emotional integrity, in knowing who you are and being that with her fully. No games, no tactics, just presence. That's what she's starving for in a world full of noise and ego and surface-level attraction. She wants to feel something real. And the moment you become that source of reality, everything shifts. Her desire rises from within, not because you pursued her, but because she felt safe enough to pursue you, not with her mind, but with her whole being. A woman doesn't surrender to force. She surrenders to understanding. Her intimacy is not a reaction to pressure, but a reflection of how deeply she feels held. When you stop trying to break through her resistance, and instead make her feel emotionally seen, the resistance dissolves on its own. It's not that she doesn't want to connect, it's that she wants to feel safe in the connection. Safe to let her guard down. Safe to express what she usually hides. Safe to be the version of herself that doesn't need to be filtered, polished, or perfect. That level of safety is rare, and that's why the men who can create it are unforgettable. She doesn't open her body because of lust. She opens it because of trust. Her mind must feel calm. Her heart must feel heard. Her emotions must feel allowed. If any part of her feels judged, her desire disappears. You can't fake this. You can't mimic it with charm or lines or timing. She knows the difference between a man who sees her and a man who wants something from her. When you show her you want to know her, not possess her, she begins to soften. Her feminine energy begins to rise naturally, without force, without effort. That's when she starts to feel turned on from something far deeper than appearance. She feels turned on by how deeply you honor her. The feminine doesn't respond to noise, it responds to stillness. Not the kind of stillness that's empty, but the stillness that holds space with strength. When you become that still, grounded presence, you give her permission to be vulnerable. And vulnerability for a woman is the doorway to arousal. If she feels like she has to guard her emotions, she'll guard her body too. But if you give her the emotional freedom to unfold slowly, without expectation, her desire will meet you with intensity you didn't expect. Your power isn't in what you say to impress her. It's in the energy you bring into the moment. If your energy tells her you're allowed to be all of who you are here, she will show you parts of herself she hides from the world. She will stop overthinking. She will stop holding back. She will feel fully. And that's what changes everything, because once a woman starts feeling deeply in your presence, her intimacy becomes a gift, not a reaction. It becomes an offering, not an obligation. And it comes with a power and devotion no surface-level seduction can ever create. You don't need to manipulate to win her. You need to become a container strong enough to hold her truth. That's what she's looking for. That's what pulls her in. And when you become that man, present, calm, emotionally grounded, she won't just want to be near you. She'll want to open to you. Completely. Not out of duty, but from desire. Not from fear, but from freedom. That's the kind of intimacy that lasts. That's the kind of connection she never forgets. She wants to be wanted, but not for how she looks or what she gives. She wants to be wanted for who she is when no one's watching. That silent, hidden version of her that questions everything, feels too much, and hopes someone will finally understand without her needing to explain. When a woman senses that you see beyond her appearance, into her essence, her heart begins to open. Not because you've earned it, but because your presence removes the need for her to protect it. And in that stillness, where judgment disappears and acceptance rises, her desire awakens in the most powerful way, freely, naturally, without resistance. Every woman carries the weight of performance. The pressure to look a certain way, act a certain way, respond a certain way. It's exhausting. So when a man shows up with no expectations, with energy that says, you don't have to perform here, it disarms her. Not in weakness, but in relief. She exhales, she lets go. And for the first time in a long time, she feels safe just being. That moment is when intimacy begins. Not the physical kind, but the kind that touches her soul and whispers, you're home. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs you to be present. She doesn't need promises of forever. She needs the truth of now. Your awareness, your steadiness, your willingness to hold emotional space without rushing past it. That's what she craves. That's what unlocks her softness. Not because she's being won over, but because you're giving her something she rarely receives, emotional freedom. And in that freedom, her attraction deepens. It becomes rooted, real, unshakable. Men often mistake control for power, but control creates pressure, and pressure kills intimacy. Real power is emotional steadiness, the ability to remain calm when she feels vulnerable, the strength to listen without needing to fix, the maturity to let her unfold at her own pace. This is what makes a woman feel safe to drop her guard, open her heart, and share herself fully. That's when her femininity flows. That's when her sensuality blooms. Not because you pushed, but because you made space. What she wants more than anything is to feel chosen, not for how she fits into your life, but for how she is in her rawest, most real form. When she senses that you're not trying to change her, control her, or rush her, she will start to lean in. She will begin to trust not just your words, but your energy. And that trust is the root of everything. That's what allows her to step into her deepest, most radiant self. And when she steps into that space with you, what unfolds isn't just intimacy, it's devotion, connection, passion that runs deep, not fast. And once you experience that, you'll understand that the most powerful connection begins not with desire, but with safety. And safety begins with presence, your presence. Presence is more than being physically near her. It's the energy you bring into the space. It's the silence that speaks louder than words. It's the calm confidence that tells her she doesn't need to be anyone else. When a woman feels that kind of presence, something inside her shifts. She no longer feels the need to guard, to shrink, to analyze. She relaxes into the moment, into herself, into you. And in that stillness, attraction is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that rises naturally between you. It becomes a shared energy, not a one-sided effort. She wants to feel your attention, not just receive it. She wants to feel that when she speaks, you're not just listening, you're feeling what she's saying. That kind of attentiveness is rare. Most people listen to respond. Few listen to understand. But when you do, she opens a part of herself that rarely sees daylight. Not because you asked for it, but because you proved yourself worthy of it. Worthy through patience, through presence, through emotional steadiness that says, I can hold all of you. That emotional safety is more arousing than any line, look, or gesture, because it tells her she can stop pretending. When she feels emotionally safe, her feminine energy begins to awaken in layers, first in her voice, then in her breath, then in her body. It's not forced, it's surrendered. She begins to express what she's suppressed, not because you pulled it out of her, but because you stopped giving her a reason to hide. That is the essence of magnetic connection. Not control, not dominance, but trust. Real trust, built on energy that says, I don't need anything from you. I'm here to be with you. You become the anchor in her storm, not by fixing her, but by standing steady while she expresses all that she is. That's when she begins to feel a rare kind of freedom. And when a woman feels that, her heart responds before her mind can even catch up. Her resistance fades, her defenses fall. Not because you broke them down, but because you didn't pressure them in the first place. That's the paradox. The less you try to take, the more she wants to give. The less you demand, the more she desires. That's the difference between manipulation and mastery. One forces, the other invites. She isn't looking for a perfect man. She's looking for a man who's emotionally grounded, deeply attentive, and unafraid of her truth. A man who doesn't flinch when she's messy. a man who doesn't run when she's soft. That kind of presence turns you from a stranger into a sanctuary. And when you become that, she won't just want your touch. She'll crave your energy, your silence, your mind, your truth. Not for a night, but for something deeper. Because now she doesn't just feel wanted, she feels understood. And that changes everything. When a woman feels understood, she no longer seeks attention. She offers presence. Her energy shifts from guarded to graceful, from defensive to divine. And it's not because someone chased her, but because someone finally saw her. Not just the image she presents, but the emotions she conceals. That kind of connection awakens something ancient in her spirit, something sacred that only reveals itself to those who approach with calm strength, not performance. She doesn't want entertainment, she wants emotional depth. She doesn't crave a thrill. She craves resonance, the kind that reaches the places within her that words cannot touch. Your consistency is what earns her vulnerability. Your silence, when steady, becomes more trustworthy than loud declarations. She watches not what you say, but how you hold yourself when nothing is being said. Are you still calm when she's emotional? Are you still sure when she's uncertain? She notices everything, because safety for her is not built through promises. It's built through energy. The moment she senses that your mood doesn't swing based on hers, something in her softens, not out of weakness, but out of relief. She finally feels she can exhale. And that exhale is the beginning of real intimacy. The feminine doesn't open in the face of pressure. It unfolds in response to peace. If your energy is chaotic, she will mirror that chaos. If your energy is centered, she will slowly, naturally begin to rest in that center. Attraction, in its purest form, is not about impressing her. It's about embodying a grounded state that gives her emotional permission to stop overthinking. When your presence becomes medicine for her nervous system, her affection will not be a choice. It will be an impulse. Because now she's no longer performing. She's simply responding to alignment. Emotional maturity is the most seductive quality you can develop. It's not in your looks. It's in your tone. It's in how you hold space for her when she's not sure how to hold it for herself. It's in how you refuse to take her intensity personally, because you understand her chaos isn't a test, it's a cry for grounding. Most people panic when emotions rise. But when you remain centered, when you meet emotion with steadiness, not strategy, everything shifts. Now you're not just a man, you're a mirror reflecting back stability. And that reflection gives her the courage to return to herself. This is how you earn something far beyond attention. You earn emotional devotion. Not because you begged for it, but because you became worthy of it. She doesn't want to be won over. She wants to feel free enough to choose you again and again, with no pressure and no fear. That kind of connection can't be faked. It's felt, it's lived, and once she feels it, she will never forget the man who made her feel seen, safe, and sacred, all at once. A woman who feels emotionally safe will offer more than affection. She will offer transformation. She will begin to elevate everything she touches, not because she's trying to impress you, but because her spirit naturally expands when nurtured, not controlled. When a man provides a space free of emotional chaos, her femininity blossoms without force. Her mind calms, her heart opens, and her energy no longer feels the need to defend itself. This is not something you can fake. Women feel energy more than they hear words. She listens not to your mouth, but to your presence. She watches how you react when she is quiet, not just when she is expressive. If your energy remains clean and grounded in the face of her silence, she will trust you with the parts of herself that she doesn't show to anyone else. Your discipline becomes her permission to soften. Your strength isn't measured in how loud you are. It's revealed in how gently you hold her storm without trying to fix it. When you stop trying to change her feelings and instead respect them, she no longer feels the need to guard her femininity. She begins to trust the moment. She begins to trust you. Emotional safety is not created through perfection, but through consistency. If she sees that your emotions do not sway with hers, she will find refuge in your calm. That refuge becomes her sanctuary. And from that sanctuary she becomes radiant, Not for the world, but for you. A woman's deepest beauty comes alive when she feels emotionally cherished, not just physically desired. It's not about compliments or flattery. It's about presence. She needs to feel that you are not just there when it's convenient, but also when it's difficult. She doesn't need you to solve her. She needs you to stay with her through what she's trying to solve within herself. Most men want access to a woman's body, but very few earn access to her trust. And once you've earned that trust, she becomes more than a partner. She becomes an emotional amplifier. She will reflect your peace back to you in ways that make you more of a man than you thought possible. This is how connection becomes a force of transformation, not obligation. You no longer seek validation because her energy naturally affirms your presence without words. You no longer chase attention because her spirit recognizes the power of your calm. You no longer fear losing her because she sees you as irreplaceable. Not because of what you have, but because of who you are. When you master the art of emotional steadiness, you become unforgettable. Not because you demanded love, but because you embodied it. Not because you controlled her emotions, but because you gave her the space to express them without fear. And in that space, she didn't just love you. She felt safe to become everything she was meant to be. When a woman learns to no longer react, but instead respond with silence, with calm, and with grounded self-awareness, she reclaims a power that many will never understand. That silence isn't weakness, it is the loudest form of strength, because she is no longer seeking to be understood by those who refuse to listen. She is no longer proving her worth to those who never deserved access to her energy. Her silence is not surrender, it is elevation. It is the space where self-respect begins to speak louder than emotion. She is not cold, she is clear. She is not distant, she is discerning. And the moment she stops explaining herself is the moment she starts protecting herself. A high-value woman understands that not every situation deserves her reaction. She knows that when she removes her attention, she removes her power. Her energy is her currency, and she spends it with great care. She no longer runs after people who misunderstand her. She no longer explains her boundaries. She no longer opens her heart to those who only knock out of boredom. She knows her silence will speak the truth her words never could, that her absence will echo louder than her presence ever did when it was unappreciated. This kind of woman doesn't seek revenge, she seeks peace. And in choosing peace, she becomes untouchable. Growth teaches her that not everything deserves closure. Some doors must stay shut. Some people must be left behind. Not because she's bitter, but because she's better. Better at knowing who she is. Better at knowing what drains her. Better at honoring her emotional energy. She doesn't beg for time, attention, or love, because anything she has to beg for isn't aligned with the woman she's becoming. She knows that when you have to force something, it's already broken. Her silence isn't her shutting down, it's her rising up. It's her stepping away from noise that no longer serves her. It's her choosing herself in a world that benefits from her forgetting her worth. When a woman becomes this silent, her presence becomes heavier than her words ever were. People begin to feel the shift. They notice the glow. They feel the distance. But what they don't always realize is that she had to burn through chaos to find her peace. She had to break cycles to feel this light. She had to lose pieces of herself in order to rise as the woman who no longer begs to be seen. She is no longer interested in being tolerated. She desires to be deeply valued, completely respected, and emotionally safe. And until that space is offered, she is unshakably content in her own. Because she has learned that the loudest power is found in the quietest moments. When she stops chasing, when she stops explaining, when she stops fixing, she starts living. And in that life, she no longer just survives, she reigns. There comes a moment when a woman realizes that peace is more precious than attention, more sacred than validation, and far more powerful than winning any argument. She understands that not every battle is worth fighting, not every voice deserves a reply, and not every presence belongs in her space. In that realization, she becomes a different force. A woman who walks away without noise, without resentment, without turning back, because she finally sees that the greatest form of self-love is removal. Not to punish, not to hurt, but to protect her evolution. She knows her worth isn't proven by staying. It's defined by what she refuses to accept. Emotional maturity teaches her to pause before reacting, to observe before responding, to breathe before absorbing energy that doesn't belong to her. She becomes selective with what she gives her soul to. Her silence becomes her sanctuary. She no longer needs to over-explain, to overextend, or to overcompensate for people who never valued her truth. Her stillness speaks louder than the chaos that once consumed her. Because now her decisions are rooted in alignment, not fear. She no longer tries to be everything to everyone. She becomes everything to herself. That shift is not arrogance, it's healing. People may not understand her detachment, but it's not for them to understand. It's for her to experience. The power in choosing solitude over dysfunction. The beauty of choosing reflection over reaction. She now listens to her intuition more than noise. Her emotional intelligence has deepened. She can sense energy before a word is spoken. She reads the silence in rooms, the tension in conversations, the fakeness in smiles, and instead of fighting it, she simply removes herself, quietly, completely, and without guilt, because she knows she's not losing anything when she leaves behind what disturbs her peace. She's gaining clarity, strength, and inner power. The woman who once poured endlessly into others now pours into herself. She has learned that love without reciprocity becomes self-destruction, that giving without boundaries becomes depletion. So she chooses differently. She rests when she's tired, not when she's broken. She speaks when it's necessary, not when she's triggered. She loves without losing herself, and she gives without expecting to be completed. Because she knows that wholeness isn't found in others, it's cultivated within. She no longer needs chaos to feel alive. Her calm is now her crown, and in that calm she rises, with grace, with depth, with quiet strength that can't be manipulated. She doesn't fight for space anymore, she takes up space. She doesn't beg to be seen anymore, she sees herself. And in doing so, she becomes magnetic, not because she's loud, not because she's trying, but because she's aligned. And alignment is unshakable. It's the energy that attracts peace, the presence that commands respect, and the essence that transforms a woman from being seen as an option to being remembered as a standard.